So today we're going to try to repair this drive, and this is giving us pulled for not engaging into main run, also known as DKR not go on, synchronization error. But essentially you press the button to make the motor go and the motor doesn't go. Now I don't know if I'm going to be successful with this one today, but one thing that we have done in order to make this work is we replaced some relays on a board in the back, and this is the closest thing I could find to it. That's a $20 fix to a $12,000 problem. So these are all Torx, and this is a T25. And the relays in question are right here. So this board has to come out because the only way to get those off is to desolder them from the other side. So anytime you try to tackle something like this, it's very easy to get confused. So what I always do is I'll make a little, like a sheet, so that I'll know where things go after I take them off. Now, as you can tell, I am the opposite of an artist, but what I have here is like, this is AK3. So this is AK3, AK2, AK2, and I got this kind of laid out right here, and that is where these connect, and this will kind of tell me where everything goes. This GU2, GV2, those are these two little gray wires right here. So all of this means essentially a wire and where it goes approximately. These coils, they're very important because these wires have to pass through them. Just take a bunch of pictures. All right, get all the different angles, because sometimes, I mean, I might be working on this, but then I accidentally pull something off over here. It's a really good idea to have a lot of pictures, so that way if something's weird, I mean, I could always just go open up another DKR and match it up. Sometimes these wires are worn down and I can't read what's actually on there. Having a picture for reference can really help out. I'm just gonna check and make sure that these wires are properly labeled. So I'm gonna pull this off. And you always wanna grab it by the plastic end. You don't wanna grab it by the wire to pull it out. It says, GU2, yeah, GU2. So on the board on the back it says GU2, and on the wire it says GU2, and on the board there it says GW2. Now all these are T25, and I'll try to stay somewhat organized. So I'm gonna put this one here, next one here, next one here. One of the neat thing about these is they got these holes here. I just take one, I got a little bit extra leverage. Drop these back in the order I pulled them out. And they are all the same length, so it doesn't really matter, but I just want to keep them going back where they pulled them out. Okay. So this is free, but I can't really pull it out yet because there's too much stuff in the way. Zip tied together, it'd be hard to get them messed up. One, two, and three. So you can kind of see. So this is a 4mm Allen. And I always like using a flathead for this because I want to put a lot of torque on it. And these yellow labels here, they have a tendency to want to slide off, so I try to not make contact with those. This wire is this. I'm going to try to feed that through that coil. Just pull it out on the other side. The end here has a tendency to want to grab onto things, so I gotta be a little careful with that. There you go. Does the same thing, but it pulls out right here, and that one's easier to pull out as I'm pulling the board out. But at least I got a little room so I can get to these ribbon cables in the back. I'm just unclipping them, and they should kind of fall right out. So here's the ribbon cables. And the last two that I need, KK and temp. And I only want to pull one off, make sure I get it labeled before I pull the other one off, because if it springs out of my hand like that and it's not labeled, I'm not going to know which one was which. Okay, so now I can pull off the other one and I don't have to worry about it. And that was a T15. As I'm pulling this out, I've got to pull that wire out. So I'm kind of pushing the wire back as I'm pulling this out. There you go. So the board is out. If I want to, I can take this thing and just get it out of the way. This is an Xtronic LF7000. This is a very old but very good machine. So it's got a soldering iron over here, and it has a solder sucker over here. So this is going to heat up just like a soldering iron, but it's also going to extract the solder from the board. We're going to add some flux to all these pins. MG Chemicals 8341, no clean flux picks. Ones that you do have to clean, that's because the acid in it is so strong that it will actually destroy the board if you just let it sit on here. But this one, you don't really have to worry about it. So you can see it started to come out there. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little solder to every point. That's going to help to get it to start flowing. I'm going to set it on, let it melt the solder, I'll wiggle it around, and then vacuum it up. There we go. And you don't want to put on the vacuum too early because then you'll just be cooling it off. You want to get it nice and melted and suck everything up. In a perfect world, these would both just drop out, but it never quite works that way. There's almost always something that sticks on. Even if I get most of the solder off, all it takes is just a little bit to hold everything up. Looks like so that one's loose and that one's loose. Everything else is still kind of stiff. You can just add more solder to it and try it again. Okay, that one's loose. This one's still stiff. See if I can just get it straight with the vacuum. Okay, that's loose, that's loose. So on this one, we only got these two pins at the top. There we go. And here we can start to kind of see that scorch mark. So even though it looks nice and clean on this side, over here we got that black mark. So this one, not necessarily bad, but it's definitely not good. Alright. Oh yeah, that one's got a nice scorch on it. So yeah, it's interesting that the outside looks clean, the inside looks nasty. Alright. We got 6 pins all on one side and then 2 pins on the other side, so it can only really go one way. This is kind of still clogged up, and we'll kind of do 2 things at once. There we go. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So 1 to go. Okay. Okay, let's see how it works. It can be kind of deceiving because these 2 thick wires here, they're pretty stiff. And they can make you feel like you're grabbing something that you're not. You can get one started, everything else will just kind of fall in. 271, 376. That one goes on top. Put in the bottom one first just because it'll be easier to get to. Okay, 271369 GU2. GU2? Here we got AM minus, so that is going to wrap around and go right here. And that attaches right back here. And it just threads right into the bar. Let's do AK1 first. Now I gotta get this tiny screw back in there, and this can be a real trick. I got this. This is a little screw holder, so the tip is kind of spring loaded, and that will snap onto the screw and hold it in place just like that. And they make different lengths, different materials. When you get it started, it just pops right off. So now I can tighten everything down. The ribbon cable's next. There's some I messed up on. This wire here is supposed to go through this coil right here. It's sitting on top of it. So now, do a change mode and reset the log. So it's in operation. Now just throw in a couple of modules and we'll try to time that in. So I'm looking for these two to go clear or gray. They did? Okay, so this is the important one. So we know that one's moving. That was the problem we weren't having. I guess that was the problem we were having. This one would not move, so it would stay blue like that. This is standstill, so as soon as it stops moving, it goes blue. This wasn't moving at all, so the fact that we got it to move, that's a good thing. The blue, in reference, that's the next good thing. That means it actually worked. So right now we're good. We just have to monitor it and make sure it stays good.